Welcome to UT Today. I'm Elizabeth Longmire.
And I'm Ashley Sharp. Coming up today, the Tennessee legislature battles over Medicaid changes and if there will be any.
Plus, it's springtime in Tennessee. Well, according to the calendars, a special report from anchor Alana Osborne on what to expect this season.
But first, do you know what to do when faced with an active shooter situation? UT Today reporter Jake Albright sat down with UT safety offices to find out how they prepare for the worst. Jake?
Elizabeth, Ashley, although an active shooter situation hasn't occurred on UT's campus, officials say it does not mean it won't. But the university is prepared for the worst.
If the unthinkable happens and you are faced with an active shooter situation, do you know what to do?
While life goes on at the University of Tennessee, day by day, thousands of people walk onto campus until the unthinkable happens.
So it is a situation that nobody expects to happen, and we hope never does happen at UT.
Active shooter cases are on the rise across the country, and the likelihood of a potential disaster is growing.
You are seeing that it's large populations, and UT is a large population. You do see it's school settings, and we're a school setting, and you do see it's business settings, and we're a business setting.
Because of these recent incidents, the University of Tennessee is doing their part in making sure nothing like this happens on campus. Brad Walker in the Office of Emergency Management putting together this video to help people know what to do in this situation.
We go through and train people about the basic things that they can do during an active shooter response.
They work to inform the community on the three basics of escaping an active shooter situation alive: run, hide, and fight.
This is your response actions, what you feel comfortable with, and regardless of what you do, we want to be in place to protect you and get you to a safe place.
Together with the UT Police Department, they hope this doesn't happen. But if it does,
we will be ready for it.
For UT Today, I'm Jake Albright reporting.
Now, the two offices plan to hold their next active shooter training sometime this summer. Elizabeth, Ashley, back to you.
Thanks, Jake. In the past year, there's been a rise in victims of sexual assault coming forward and sharing their stories with movements like Me Too. I sat down with a survivor who shared her story with me and how she's not just surviving, but thriving.
In high school, I was sexually assaulted at a friend's house.
This is something Jess Maples was prepared to take to her grave.
And at that point, my parents had no idea. There's so many thoughts that go through your head, like, okay, are they going to believe me?
Jess found the courage to finally share her story in UT's student newspaper on her birthday.
After the article published on my 22nd birthday, it made sense that I didn't want to have a normal birthday ever again.
Publishing her story on such a special day meant that going forward, everything would change.
Your birthday has more meaning when there's something meaningful to you behind it all.
Jess has used her passion for photography as a healthy way to channel her emotions.
Started it as a distraction, just to get away.
And this year, for her 25th birthday, Jess hangs up photos in solidarity with other victims of sexual assault and as a testimony to how far she's come.
It's just really about showing people that, you can go through a traumatic event and it's definitely not going to be pretty or perfect all of the time, but it's about taking steps forward.
Each of these 25 pictures representing a story, a person, an advocate, and someone much more than a statistic.
Jess said she's had people reach out to her from across the country and even across the world, thanking her for sharing her story. They say it helped them not only to cope, but to get to the point where they could share their own stories. She plans to continue to use her birthday as a way to advocate for sexual assault victims.
Tennessee was one of the first states to do a full managed Medicaid program in the 1990s. Now, almost 30 years later, Medicaid is still in place, but Tennessee has chosen not to expand.
UT Today reporter Savannah Jacoby joins us in studio with more. Savannah?
Medicaid is in place to ensure that Americans have full access to health insurance if they need it. The federal government has raised the limit for people under Medicaid, but Tennessee chose not to take the extension. I talked to Professor Myers to get the breakdown.
Health care, one of the most important issues to Tennesseans, and one of the major components is Medicaid.
For Tennessee, the Medicaid program is mostly known as TennCare.
Dr. Carol Myers, an expert in healthcare, explaining just what TennCare means to the average citizen.
Medicaid is a federal program that was created in the 1960s as part of the Great Society program. Medicaid is unique in that it's a joint partnership between the federal governments and the state governments.
TennCare provides health care to low-income pregnant women, caretakers of minor children, individuals with a disability, and the elderly.
Now, just over a year ago, the Tennessee legislature chose not to expand Medicaid funding for the state.
What this means for Tennesseans is there's about 165,000 uninsured adults that are in what we call the Medicaid gap.
With a busy governor's race ahead, Republicans and Democrats' views on Medicaid expansion differ. Democratic candidate Craig Fitzhugh has been pushing for Medicaid expansion for years.
All we have to do is remove one little House joint resolution that says the legislature has to give the governor permission to expand.
Republican candidate Bill Lee does not want to expand under the current health care system.
Expanding Medicaid under that system is creating a problem for us that will have to be resolved down the road.
For now, Tennessee stands as one of 18 states that has not expanded Medicaid. For UT Today, this is Savannah Jacoby reporting.
Now here at the state level, we are in the beginning process of primaries related to the governor's race, U.S. Senate, and many congressional candidates. Every candidate has a certain stance on Medicaid, and Myers says to do your research before you're clicking the vote button. Back to you.
Thanks, Savannah. If you want to know information about where the gubernatorial candidates stand on Medicaid, check out their candidate websites.
A popular new app called MoviePass has been spreading around the country. But is it a good idea or is it a great scam? Reporter Kayla Grainer has more.
Movies are expensive, something UT student Hunter McClure knows well.
If you went 2 or 3 times a month, I mean, that's $30, $40 just for the tickets alone.
MoviePass was created in 2011 to help movie users by charging $10 a month to see as many movies as you want. So what's the catch? Actually, nothing. MoviePass buys thousands of tickets each month from actual movie theaters. The only stipulations are no 3D movies, IMAX, or blackout dates. But what about movie theaters? Will it hurt their business? A Regal employee who didn't want to be identified said, quote, "In short, it's not hurting Regal at all." So here's how it works.
You go on to MoviePass.com the first time and you just enter your name and email and a credit card, and then you put your address and it just signs you up and immediately charges you $10, and it'll come in the mail and you'll just activate it like you would a normal credit or debit card, and then you'll download the app, and once you activate it on there, you sync your card number and the app together.
Once you're 100 yards away from your theater,
you open up the app and you click the theater that you're at, and then it'll bring up a list of all the movies that they're showing, and you will click check in on the time you want to see, and it immediately loads your card with the money for the ticket.
Overall, it's a good deal for you, the theaters, and MoviePass.
This is kind of the new Netflix. You're able to go to the movies for the same price as like a Netflix subscription.
For UT Today, I'm Kayla Grainer.
Still to come, bugs, plants, and weddings. Find out what these things have in common.
Find out when we return.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top.
Down Tennessee Hills.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I.
This warm weather across East Tennessee is really bringing everyone outside, including some unwanted critters.
We're talking bugs and some creepy crawlers. UT Today springtime anchor Alana Osborne is in studio with us today to tell us just what to expect this spring season, from bugs to brides. Alana?
Thank you. Yeah, it feels great outside, especially now that we're seeing some longer days. It's definitely a great time to get outdoors, but it's bringing some critters along with it. Take a look.
And what they're trying to do is trying to find a place to overwinter, crawl back into a crack, crevice, nook, or cranny, and stay there until spring.
As early springtime starts to make its way to East Tennessee, you may see some stink bugs and ladybugs making their way out of your house. Experts say that each year they make their way inside to hibernate during the winter.
There's all sorts of places that insects live.
Outside, blooming flowers are food for many bees and flies, and at the UT Gardens, we hear that it's nothing unusual, just something that we tend to notice after a long winter.
It just gets more attention whenever we've been cooped up inside and been seeing things different. Now we're seeing things green up and we're seeing activity going on outside, so it attracts our attention and makes people wonder.
And it does make us wonder. We've been seeing some snakes get out too, and Vandergrift says to just be careful because they're cold-blooded animals, which is going to bring them out a little more into the grass, gardens, and some wood piles. But what about rodents?
They're not as affected by cold. We may see their activity a little bit more, and you know, it's a fresh supply of food.
So because all these bugs are making their way outside, just keep your eyes open and your vacuum handy.
With an early spring coming, those insects will get back to where they belong, and that is outside. While the bugs can find safety from harsh weather inside our homes, plants don't have that luxury. With warm weather one day down to freezing temperatures the next, many are concerned about the state of plants and spring blooms for the 2018 season. UT Today anchor Elizabeth Longmire visited local gardens to see what the upcoming months hold for these native species.
With the crunch of autumn's leaves and the sprouting of new blooms, UT students are beginning to see the first signs of spring. However, with the changing weather patterns of East Tennessee, many plants could be in danger.
Those are going to be effective. That's the part that will remain to be seen.
University of Tennessee Extension Agent David Vandergrift saying that each day brings new and unforeseen changes for the wildlife.
If we stay cooler like we've been the last few days, then we'll probably get more back towards the normal time that those things will come out.
Even through the cold spurt, popular springtime sprouts, including the dogwood, an East Tennessee favorite, still on schedule for blooming.
The further they get open from being in a bud, the less cold they can take.
Director of UT Gardens, Dr. Susan Hamilton, also noticing a different theme in weather patterns for 2018.
Anything that's kind of look like it started actively growing. It's going to be very tender and let's say fragile as far as temperature goes. So getting down to 26, that's going to zap it back.
And while the weather makes for less springtime blooms, Hamilton says it's hard to avoid.
We hate to see that happen, but that's just the nature of living in this transition zone.
Reminding all East Tennesseans to get outside and enjoy the plants while you can.
Temperatures looking to be warming up in April. Professionals expect the most prominent blooms to pop up the first few weeks of spring. Local plants aren't the only thing budding this spring. April, May, and June are commonly recognized as the year's wedding season. But just why should you walk down the aisle here in Big Orange Country? UT Today reporter Allison Woodall went behind the scenes of this blooming industry to tell us more.
With wedding season officially in bloom here in East Tennessee, I turned to a few bridal experts to see just why Knoxville is the place to be wed this spring.
The wedding vendors in Knoxville are some of the highest quality vendors you will find anywhere, not just in Tennessee, but anywhere. Very competitive market, and the brides push us to be that competitive.
There are many locally owned businesses to choose from here in Knoxville, which means caring and attentive service every step of the way.
We always make sure they have their venue and that they have their dresses, and then it's time to start planting flowers. So it's never too early as long as you know what direction you're going.
There is a timeline to follow when planning a spring wedding. Most consultants recommend securing your date and venue as soon as possible, then to your formal wear and flowers.
Our May and June girls saw us last summer, so we're on to like next spring and summer girls right now.
A definite upside to saying your I do's in Knoxville, the city's low cost of living may save you from breaking the bank.
Weddings are still fairly inexpensive compared to other areas of the country. It still is like an arm and a leg, but it's like a smaller arm and a leg.
No matter the style, there's a little something for every bride planning her wedding here in East Tennessee.
I feel like no matter what look you're going for, there's something that's pretty fantastic nearby.
For UT Today, this is Allison Woodall reporting.
It seems many brides choose these next few months here in Knoxville to avoid the stress of planning a fall wedding during a bye weekend of the UT football season. Now, maybe wedding season isn't your ideal way to enjoy the spring, but don't worry. UT Today reporter Ansley Daniels spent some time at Imes Nature Center to see what's planned for the visitors, welcome and unwelcome.
Nature is calling and spring is blooming at Imes Nature Center, despite a few cold snaps.
Most of our plants that we have here are native species, and the great thing about that means that we don't have to worry about them too much, even when it's really cold or really hot or really dry. They're adapted to the ever-changing conditions here in Tennessee.
The recent warm weather and the official start of spring not only bring new plants and animals to the Nature Center, but an influx of visitors as well.
Even though it's a little chilly at night still, we definitely know spring is coming, and that means any beautiful day, there's a ton of visitors out in the park, there's a lot to do, and there's amazing things to see here at the Nature Center.
Jennifer Roeder spends her winters inside at the Nature Center planning programs for visitors in the spring.
We have a lot of programs and events, ways for families to get outside, programs for adults. We have programs aimed at preschool and early elementary children, just getting them outdoors.
While this season encourages people to get outside, it has also resulted in some unwanted furry friends, as people are releasing pets purchased for Easter, like bunnies, into the Nature Center.
What we do notice is that, especially around the spring holidays, like Easter, is when we found a rabbit, but it was not a native one. We've seen ducks released here that we think were probably Easter pets.
Leaving these animals behind in the wild does more harm than good for all involved.
In most cases, animals that have been pets are just not suited to being in the wild and just won't survive. If they do, they can really kind of wreak havoc on the native ecosystem.
For UT Today, Ansley Daniels.
In some cases, releasing animals into the Wildlife Center can be against the law, especially if they're invasive. But that's going to do it for your UT Today Spring Update. Ladies, back to you.
Thanks so much, Olana, and definitely one of my favorite seasons. Elizabeth, are you ready for spring?
Most definitely. Living in East Tennessee, we're always ready for the springtime weather.
Absolutely. And when we come back, we will have your UT Today Sports Update. Stay with us.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top.
Down Tennessee Hills.
Home sweet home to me.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Welcome back. The Winter Olympics have passed, but one UT team is looking forward to the Summer Olympics in Tokyo.
And Butch is officially off Rocky Top. We're sending it over to UT Today sports anchor Kayla Grainer, who has more for your UT Sports Update.
Thanks, guys. The Winter Olympics are over, but one UT team already has a strong connection to Tokyo 2020. Hannah Milby caught up with them to learn more.
Ballroom dancing is on the ticket to be added to the next Summer Olympics, and UT's team is getting all of their steps in to make sure Knoxville and the world is ready for their sport.
People tend to think, oh, well, ballroom, that's like a weird thing. Nobody does that. But that's not true. And it's really a lot of fun. And I urge people to kind of shove it off or brush it off to, give it another chance, give it another thought.
When competing at the Olympics, it will be referred to as dance sport and judged based on Latin and standard. But until Tokyo, the ballroom team understands the importance of outreach in the community. They're involved in programs with Knoxville youth so more children can get the many benefits of dance. They also hold events on campus like their Valentine's Day dance, where members of UT can enjoy lessons and performances.
Ballroom is a really good environment to get over some social anxieties if you have any, and really work on improving yourself. And it's casual and competitive, so depending on what your goal is joining the club, you can get a lot out of it in completely different areas too.
Benefits that members like Day are seeing positively affect their lives.
I honestly can say that being on the ballroom team has changed my life.
For UT Today, Hannah Milby.
Those interested in joining or simply just dancing can find many members Friday nights at social dance parties around Knoxville. A change on the sidelines brings a change in the skyline. UT Today sports reporter Camille Gear has more on Butch Jones coming down from the video board at Neyland Stadium.
Butch is out. He's been out of UT athletics since early November, but more than 100 days later, the iconic scoreboard carrying his image has finally been replaced. You can see it plain and simple from Neyland Drive and from all over Knoxville. Part of the reason why fans are so frustrated that changing the iconic video board took this long.
The fact that it took you 4 months, we've had a head coach since early January.
Many photoshopped images of the video board surfaced on Twitter, waiting for the announcement of who would replace Butch Jones. Some included Alvin Kamara holding Airheads and Vol Twitter, since they claim credit for preventing the hiring of Greg Schiano. On March 5th, Butch Jones was finally replaced by Al Wilson, an All-American linebacker and team captain who played for the '98 National Championship team. Weeks later, the other two images were replaced with an updated picture of legendary coach General Robert Neyland and 11-time Pro Bowler for the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Witten. Witten came to UT as a defensive end, but was later moved to tight end his freshman year. Witten ended up becoming one of the best tight ends in Tennessee history with over 68 interceptions. For UT Today, I'm Camille Gear reporting.
Nick Saban confirmed earlier this week that Butch Jones has been cleared by the NCAA and has joined Alabama's staff as an offensive analyst. We wish him the best of luck. Well, that's going to do it for your UT Sports Update. Back to you guys.
Yeah, we certainly wish him the best in Alabama. Thanks, Kayla. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and one local artist is showing it to be true.
How she lets her art tell stories many of us wouldn't hear otherwise. Stay with us.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Wish that I was on old Rocky Top.
Down in Tennessee hills.
Home sweet home to me.
Rocky Top, Tennessee.
The Arab American Club of Knoxville hosted their first annual art show for a great cause. UT Today reporter Tala Shatara attended the event to find out more.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, so I am here at the Emporium on Gay Street checking out the amazing art that these local Middle Eastern Americans have actually put together to showcase for our East Tennessee community. I attended the first annual From the Middle East to the Smoky Mountains art exhibition put on by the Arab American Club of Knoxville. All of the proceeds of this event go to the Cancer Association of America, and some local artists have mentioned that paying it forward is the only way they'd release their artwork.
I thought like I cannot just have these my babies in the house. I need to do something different. So I decided anything I sell in my life from my art, it will be for a good cause.
Rilla Habibi took me into her home to show me where her artwork is born and happily on display. She said when she starts a painting, she never really knows what the painting will be, which is her favorite part of the process and is exactly why she was honored to share at this year's art exhibition. Some of the artwork that was shown was there to also bring awareness behind Middle Eastern culture, especially in a time this world needs it the most. As you can see right now, behind me we have some of the art that is exhibited here tonight. Real photos with real people showing emotion, of sadness, curiosity, hurt, but more importantly, community. All artwork is up for sale and you can find it on the Arab American Club's Facebook page to support a good cause. UT Today, Tala Shatara.
The Arab American Club of Knoxville has also put on various events around the Knoxville area.
So when you hear the word fundraiser, what comes to mind? Maybe cookie dough, chocolate, or even coupon books?
Well, one high school is coming together to collect new and used shoes for third world countries that may not have them. UT Today reporter Mariah Rock has more.
Shoes may not seem like a luxury here in the U.S., but to some around the world, they can help in more ways than you think. Here at Carnes High, the Parent Teacher Student Association is teaming up with Funds to Orgs for a chance to give back.
And help them to start a trade to become financially independent.
Funds to Orgs gives the PTSA a set amount to raise.
So we need 100 bags with 25 shoes in each bag.
The shoes are not only used for wearing, but are used for other purposes.
They take the shoes then and they teach them how to repair them, repurpose them, and then sell them.
Their PTSA co-chairman explains that they've collected about 1/3 of what they're supposed to have.
It looks like a lot of shoes, but actually once they're bagged, it's not quite as many as it looks like.
From doorstep to doorstep, she's even going around and collecting them herself.
I got this one last night.
All kinds of shoes. Anything from heels, running shoes, sandals, and even winter boots. All shoes are accepted as long as they're in good condition.
And these are our corporate sponsors.
With multiple sponsors and supporters, they are all working to bring the community together.
To get the high school back involved in the community.
It's a lesson that teaches the students about helping others.
Especially those that are not even in this country, but to help others just become independent on their own, then that's really been encouraging.
Reporting for UT Today, Mariah Rock.
Such a great cause. Thank you for joining us. For UT Today, I'm Ashley Sharp.
And I'm Elizabeth Longmire.